Hey friends, I thought I would come and talk to you about our brand new tool, the Intuitive Homeschool Planning Tool, and get a short live up on the board for all of you. We're getting lots of questions about it. So Brave Writer does believe in planning, but the difference between how I talk about planning and maybe how you're used to it has to do with where we put our planning emphasis. So in a lot of traditional homeschooling planning or any kind of planning, we focus a lot on goals and fitting those goals into our values and then having concrete metrics, things we can measure, things that we can have due by dates. You know, if you think about the Stephen Covey method or you think about atomic habits, there are lots of methods for establishing your habits, your values, and your practices. But what you have going on that is slightly different than all those options for how to plan your schedule or your calendar is you're trying to plan the lives of other people. You're not just planning tasks for yourself or even for a staff that agrees that you're the boss. You are working with little human beings. And a lot of times I like to think of them as what I call free radicals, right? They have their own minds, they have their own dispositions, they have their own personalities. And just because you put 3 math pages on the schedule doesn't mean it happens, right? Certainly doesn't mean it's going to happen with cooperation. In fact, one of the biggest struggles parents seem to have that I hear about all the time is they created a beautiful plan on the calendar, all the expectations really clear, and they don't get it done. Either a child's personality contradicts, or somebody gets sick, or the work you did on one day was so challenging to that child, you didn't complete what you set out to do, and so the next day's plan is no longer relevant, right? They didn't finish those 6 problems, so how can they move on to the next 6? So when we plan using our traditional methods, the methods that come from our typical planning that we've always done for ourselves personally, you know, scheduling out the meals, figuring out the chore chart for ourselves, learning how to study for a test you're going to take in college, all of that kind of thinking kind of goes out the window when you're dealing with children, because now you have to motivate them to participate in whatever kind of planning you adopt. So years ago, I was spending time thinking about all of these features while I was a homeschooler, while I was hanging out with my homeschool friends. And I designed a class back in 2004 that really enrolled most of my local homeschool mom friends. And I set out to create a series of exercises that would give them the opportunity to not just think about the schedule or the calendar, but the little human beings who they were hoping to enroll into this calendar schedule. What would it look like to plan for the child you love? What would it be like to design a plan that took into account a child's kinesthetic body energy, that paid attention to a child's strength and then disregarded the weakness, actually took that strength and used it to help that child be more successful, whether it was in reading or phonics or studying math. So in this Intuitive Homeschool Planning Tool, I spent a lot of time putting those 6 activities, those 6 exercises into a design where you could print this out and take it with you to a coffee shop. In fact, let me just find that page for you. I literally instruct you to go get coffee so that you can sit alone and actually ponder the beautiful properties that make up your kids, each one individually. I take you on a drawing process. A lot of times parents will come back to me and say, "You want me to draw?" I'm like, "Yep." "Without words?" I'm like, "Yep." Let's get underneath the layers of how you think about your child. Let's dredge up our intuitive understanding of what that child is like and how we see that child and which aspects of that child we really appreciate. I remember when I was doing this process for my own children, the drawing I did for Noah at the time compared to the drawing I did for Johanna, completely different. And I noticed in Noah's drawing that my lines kept wanting to break the boundaries and run through the frame that I drew. But when I started letting myself draw about Johanna, everything stayed inside the frame and looked neater and more orderly. And it was amazing how, as I gave myself to this activity, I was getting in touch on a much more substantial level with how I understood the true nature of my children. And the more I sort of reinforced my understanding of my kids, the less I felt comfortable organizing their days by a schedule. I started to think, okay, if Noah's gonna learn math, what does his personality have to do with that? Does it need to be more body-centric? Does it need to have him break rules, break out of the boundaries, be more self-directed? For Johanna, could I involve her creativity in the learning of math? Would she enjoy it more if she just got to use colored pencils? It was these insights that started to guide my planning. And interestingly, once I took these inventories and I started to explore who my children were, the calendar kind of sorted itself out. I started to imagine, all right, yeah, we're only going to do this once a week, and I really should make it special. I mean, if I want my kids to love poetry, assigning pages is not the way to go. What do they love as a group? Parties. Could I do a party and pair it with poetry? Do you see what I'm saying? So what I want to invite you to do, and what the Intuitive Homeschool Planning Tool does for you, is it takes you on a journey of getting to know your children's insides while you also hold on to your own goals and vision, your objectives for them. I'm not saying to just throw out your homeschool planning. After all, you're going to pick books to read, and I hope you'll pick the ones we're doing this year in Brave Writer. You're going to pick a history program. You're going to find the right math program or curriculum for your family. But how are you going to teach it? How are you going to bring about caring to learn? Because that is really at the heart of all that we do. Just putting things on a calendar doesn't mean your children will cooperate, that they'll enjoy it, that they'll internalize the lessons. So what if we plan for the children we love? What if we plan with them primarily in mind? And then we bring in all of these amazing activities, subject areas, books, movies, field trips, and we create a learning-rich environment for our kids. That's the goal of the planning tool. Now, I'm happy to take a few moments of questions. I gave you sample pages inside the picture that's on the grid on Instagram, and you can also read more details at our store. If you go to store.bravewriter.com, you will see the Intuitive Planning Tool icon in the second row of our 2 sets of icons, and that will tell you everything you need to know. So, are there any questions? I noticed there might be one. Oh no, that's all right. Any questions from anyone? Let's see. How about this over here? You only need one planner for your whole family. Each of the printables can be printed as many times as you like. So you can use our printed note pages and print them as many times as you need them. So it's just one planning tool for your whole family. The only thing we ask you not to do is to make duplicate copies for friends, right? Send them to our website to purchase their own. One of the beautiful things about this planning tool is that inside the Brave Learner Home, our membership community, we are going to go through these practices as a community for the entire month of July. So if you are already a member, feel free to get ready for that. You could be doing the planning tool now in preparation, or you can wait till that month. Now, I will add this caveat. If you were a member of the Homeschool Alliance in 2019, we had a version of this planning tool available to members, and it was free because it was part of their membership fee. It was not as beautifully designed, but the content is identical. Or if you were in the Brave Learner home last summer in July, those activities are inside the Brave Learner home now, and we will go through them in sort of our discussion board method, but they will not include the printed pages. So the activities will be included, but you will not have the printed pages. So it's up to you. You don't have to own the tool in order to do the activities. But if you're not in the Brave Learner home, or you are in it and you just love having something designed with all of these beautiful printables like this, here's some more pages that are designed just for you. As you can see, there are lots of places to write. If you want those, purchase it. It's only 25 bucks. It's not a super expensive product. We're not trying to turn a big profit here. We really just want to help you be successful. Yes, you can involve your child directly in planning. One of the interesting things that I find happens with parents is once they start really getting interested in the child's personality and strengths, is that you do want to talk to your kids. And you're going to ask them questions. You might even say things like, I was reflecting about you and I started drawing this picture. Does this kind of remind you of your personality? I'm thinking of these things. Now, some kids are super honored by that. They feel really valued that you took the time to try and understand who they are. Sometimes kids get a little embarrassed knowing that you're giving them that much attention. So you'll know what your family feels about that. But we have seen it be so productive for creating this lovely connection between parent and child. Okay, well, I want to keep this short. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that you will purchase the Intuitive Homeschool Planning Tool and that many of you will join us for Planning Month in July. Thanks for hopping on, everybody.